Hi, and welcome to Lifestyle by Design, helping you solve everyday challenges. I'm Andrea Calso, and this is my co-host, Karen Jacobs.
Hi everyone, and today we have a really special episode. It's something that Andrea and I have always wanted to do. We have two guests, Carol Gordon Exter and Jeremy Meltzler, and they're going to talk about being authors of children's books. So we're going to start with you, Carol. Did you always want to be a children's author?
Absolutely not.
How did this happen?
I taught for 35 years, and towards the end of my career, this just came to me. I used picture books on a daily basis. I, incorporated it into my curriculum, and I think writing is so hard. I never wanted to write, but it kind of was like seriously an out-of-body experience that happened at the beach. Like I just felt I had to go. And I started to write my very first book on Post-its. It's like I was at the beach, I got up, I went, and I started writing. And it was, I never stopped.
That's
and it
fabulous.
was the last 5 years before I retired, so it was like amazing, a perfect transition for me. Because I got very involved in it. I joined the Society of Children's Writers and Illustrators, and gung-ho, and I was very lucky to get published early on, and now I'm retired and I have all this time to be able to devote to children's writing because it takes a lot of time.
So you're saying it takes a lot of time. You belong to that organization.
I belong to that organization.
But do you belong to any kind of writers club or anything?
Actually, for me, I started with one. I joined one critique group, and then it blossomed because that critique group got very large. And I'm making up for lost time. I didn't start writing till about 12 years ago. And I write a lot, so I needed a group that I could bring my work to all the time, and it got so big, I'm now in 5 different groups.
Oh my God.
So I'm very
You have to be retired to be in 5 different groups.
Yes, you do. And it's amazing. I don't know how people write without it. They catch small mistakes or have fabulous suggestions for things. It's amazing to me. I am completely dependent. I would never send anything else out to a publisher again before my critique groups, and usually not just one critique group. I would probably double check it with other critique groups before I sent it out.
With the critique process, it's interesting because you think with children's book, you think picture book, words, photos. I'm curious about the process. Do you start with the words? Do you have pictures in mind?
Yes, I have. When you go through the traditional route, you don't even consider an illustrator. Even if I illustrated, they say that they don't want to even see the illustrations. They want to, the publisher has a vision and they want to connect you with an illustrator. So I had no idea who any of my illustrators were going to be. Wow. But that said, I just concentrate completely on the words.
And so when you're in those groups, you guys really just fine-tune every single word.
Yes, mostly, different people, some do grammatical things, some do, great suggestions. The ending's not tight enough, this isn't tight enough. And I've gone to all their workshops, the conferences, the Society of Children's Writers and Illustrators conferences, the one that they have in New England. And I've done a couple other writing retreats. And I've learned an amazing amount from the time I started. I laugh when I read my first thing that was rejected, but everything that I've had has been rejected many, many times. I have over 1,000 rejections in the 12 years.
Well, okay, so
we need to talk about how you deal with rejection.
Well, I actually have to say, that makes me feel better because I got involved with children's books because I wrote a story years ago, submitted to publishers, and it got rejected. And I was so hurt because I thought this was just a magnificent story that we all do. So egocentric. So I decided to begin to be everything, the co-author, not the illustrator, and do my own self-publishing. And that's how Jeremy and I got involved. So Jeremy's a first-time co-author on a book.
Yep.
So tell us about how that began for you.
Sure. It was, of course, meeting with you, and you told me about your own children's book that you had self-published, and you asked me if I wanted to write a book, and I thought you were kidding initially, and then I kind of realized that you were serious. And so we spent about 2 years meeting every couple months. We found an illustrator who was a friend of mine, also a student of yours as well, and we slowly put together this book and had it self-published. Unfortunately, we didn't have to deal with any rejections, which is really nice. So yeah, so that's that's how that came about, and I'm in healthcare, so it's not like I had even really thought about it, other than when I was 10 and wanted to be an author for a while, like any other 10-year-old. So yeah, that's where that got started, and so we just released this one, but it came out about a month ago.
Right.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can show that. And what's really, I think, interesting, and Carol will have you talk about inspirations too. I have a certain technique, and I've done no classes. So this is like intuitive, and maybe if I had taken classes or belonged to a group, I'd probably be doing a better job with sort of guiding authors.
But I think we could always learn. I
Oh,
can still
yes.
learn. And I want to make my writing the best work possible, because once it's out there, it's out there. And then you talk about rejection, then you have reviewers,
Right.
commenting. And have you ever looked, I belong to Goodreads, I belong to everything. And Goodreads, I could read something that's the most amazing book I've ever read. And I'm like, I can't wait to put my 5-star review up. And then you see someone wrote a 1-star review.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that this business is, it's so opposite of education, where I taught 4th graders and they loved you and looked up to you. And now it's like, rejection. And even if it's not rejection, I get a lot. I've been lucky. I've had some successes. I have some things hanging out there. Everything takes years. I've been working on a story over 10 years now, and I just heard great news in February that they're interested in the story. That was February. I still haven't seen a sketch. I haven't gotten the contract. But
So it's a very long process.
And
you have to be patient.
You have to be very patient, and you have to persevere. If you want to be traditionally published, you have to persevere. Because I think the least of the published books, the least number of rejections, and then it was bought was 12. So that now I'm looking like that's great. I think.
Could show some of show some.
Well,
Which is your first book? Is that your
this
first
is my
book?
first book.
I remember.
Where Am I Sleeping Tonight? A Story of Divorce.
I love that book.
I loved it too, because there's no other book for children of divorce for the elementary school child.
So what? First, second, third, fourth.
No, it could go for first through 5th grade. So if they had a divorce in their family, specifically this story is about shared custody, and this boy was actually in my room. I had a boy who lived a very similar life. I switched his name. I asked permission. And the coolest thing is that I didn't hear from him after, but many years later I sent him the book, a signed copy, and told him, because I loved this boy very much. So he was my inspiration for this book. And then my second book is Ruth the Sleuth in the Messy Room, which, after teaching 35 years and having messy desks and kids who can't find their papers, I wanted to deal with organization.
It's probably something we can all use.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to her reading it to us.
Yes. And my third book, I did sell and this is where you just have to give in. When you try traditional publishing. My third book, I loved it. It was called Library is a Special Place. It's not my third book. It's the third thing that sold. I wanted it to be a picture book, and they were hanging me on for 2 years. Wow. And they said it still was maybe going to be in the lineup some point. And a magazine company offered me to buy it at Library Sparks. And I said, you know what? If any child is touched by it or the librarian uses it, then that's wonderful. I can't have everything as a book, and I sold it. And then my third picture book is Before I Sleep, I Say Thank You, and this has been through many transformations. This is 10 years in the making.
What's the inspiration for that one?
Well, I actually, I woke up saying, the Shema, a Hebrew prayer, actually. Before I sleep, it's time to pray. I woke up in the middle of the night, I wrote it down, and then I started to work on it. I got my first few rejections. The first person who read it said they loved it, but they just printed another bedtime story, a Hebrew bedtime story, and whatever. This is sold to a Catholic publisher.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
So this has gone through so many transfers. I sent it out to regular publishers, and then somebody in my critique group had a story on forgiveness, and I said, I have a story on gratitude. And I love this story because I do this every night. I say 5 things I'm grateful for before I go to bed. And I thought, one publisher asked me for a revision and said this book could make the world a better place, but then she ultimately rejected it after I did the revision.
After she said something so positive like that? Wow!
World.
That is, wow!
But if she hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been accepted by this publisher.
right.
Yeah.
And maybe this is, I don't care who reads it, I care to touch lives. And that's what you have to realize. Whatever suggestions they give, however your book transforms, you hope you're doing the best to touch a life. And
That's great. And you know, Jeremy, that's the same with All Paws In. He wanted to touch the lives of people, and maybe you can share some of the inspiration for writing All Paws In too.
Sure. So, like I said, I'm in healthcare, and a big controversy, in quotations, has been, should you have your kids vaccinated? And without, getting too political, we wanted to kind of show that yes, it's okay to have your kids vaccinated and to have them, think positively of it. And so the idea was to have a dog, which is another huge passion of mine, is just dogs in general, and a much more relatable character, go around and, spread this, idea of vaccinating. And instead of using like a human disease, we made up pawpox, which is a, play on words. And so it was a matter of making that, getting the message across of immunization, not really, forcing it down their throat type
And
of
was
thing.
this something that you were studying, and so it became part of your sort of studies and
Yeah.
came together in a creative way?
Yeah, exactly.
And I've never been in a critique group, so I have a different way of approaching sort of doing this. And what we do is we record just our ideas, and then we go back and we look at them and go back and forth over and over again, and sort of play the roles. And that's been really.
now, did you send that book out? Because see, I don't know another book on vaccination.
No, we
Somebody
actually-
might have bought that.
Yeah, and I guess having been rejected that one time, I've sort of felt like,
Oh, goodness.
I'm going to do it myself. And the technology is here. That's the
Yes.
whole thing. The technology's here, and I have a sense of how to put books together. And the interesting thing, all of the books are going to be the same size, and this has a little story too. I had the opportunity to meet the author of Franklin the Turtle. We all know about Franklin the Turtle. She actually is an occupational therapist.
Wow.
And we both received an award the same time. She's Canadian, and I told Paulette about my rejection of my book and how I had some story. I sent it to quite a few publishers, but it was one story. And she encouraged me to persevere and to self-publish. And so I took her model of the size of her book. The Canadian Association of Occupational Therapists actually hired her to do a book on occupational therapy. And it's beautiful. And so same size as this, and it just inspired me, and I just sort of said, I can do it. And that's sort of my personality. And so the first book we did was How Full is Sophia's Backpack? And the reason that I wanted to write children's books is I wanted to get a message out about portraying children with disabilities in an appropriate, accurate way. And I also wanted to promote occupational therapy. So that was the two books that we did, How Full is Sophia's Backpack, and then the other one is Three Bakers and a Loon. And so the characters in these are children who have challenge, and in both they're children with autism. So Jeremy's book was different, but there was a message we wanted to get across. But I haven't, I had so much fun with self-publishing, I just figure I'll continue with it. And the cool part is that these books can be ordered online, but we're more interested in disseminating it. So we have been giving it out to pediatricians' offices. And Jeremy, you want to just talk about some of the things that we're doing with the book, as well, giving donation? Sure,
yeah. So a lot of the book was inspired by a local organization. We Partisan Health, which they do work worldwide with different health and social justice type causes. And so having done stuff with them, and I think they're such a great organization, I decided to, if possible, donate the profits to the book to their causes. And so I think, I don't know, $2 or $3 from every book will be donated to them, which is nice. I mean, it's not having to worry about making a profit is just kind of nice. I mean, one day maybe you'll get to, your level where, publishing books every couple of years.
Oh yeah, that's publishing book, but am I making money? No. So, you have to, I'm grateful that I was a teacher first because most people are not making money in children's books. It's a very, very small profit margin, and the publishers are making money. So
I know that experience from writing textbooks as well. That, thank God, I haven't gotten any rejections. Or maybe I would have given up on that. No, I'm
I
teasing.
think the thing is you have to have a passion,
Absolutely.
and because you're not going to make money. And I think everybody says they have a children's book in them, but you really have to persevere, and you have to put a lot of hard work and do the research. I'm constantly looking at publishers or information, something that will help me as a writer, or where do you, talk about your books or bring your books to, so that children will benefit from that. Like yours is great subjects. How do you get it to those people? Because self-publishing can work if you can get it to the people.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you
And
don't have a catalog.
Well,
right? You
we've
don't
been
have-
really lucky because and this is a learning process for me, how I've made arrangements with who's printing it for us. I can have online companies have it. So if you go on to some of the major companies that we buy things from, me a lot, I'm not going to mention the names, but you go online and our books are all there.
Right.
And what we look forward to is people reading the book and writing a nice review, and that's been really fabulous. In fact, one book, How Full is Sophia's Backpack, got 5 stars.
Oh,
So we got all excited when it was online.
It wasn't a plant, was it?
No, it wasn't planned. But Carol, we're going to have you read and Jeremy read your books, and I think it's going to be so great. But before we go on to reading the books, what maybe 1 or 2 words of advice would you give for someone who wants to write a children's book?
It's just work it. You
Work it.
really have to go to the meetings, join an organization, join a critique group, so that you learn about it, because it's not what you think. I know. I look at my early books, or I wrote a book in 6th grade. I laugh. I do Skype visits. I love to do that, and I show them this book that I wrote in 6th grade. All the adjectives, the flowery adjectives. We're taught not to, especially in picture books, because the pictures. A picture book is really the joining of words and pictures. So you don't want to repeat. And I've learned so much. I thought I knew. I used picture books all the time. I read them, to my class. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So, and that's why my early books were rejected. And
That's great.
I still know, and they're still, but whatever.
But
that's
it sounds like it's lifelong learning.
yes, it is.
Lifelong learning, and
Yeah.
you've been extremely successful, and we're so happy you're on the show. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's have you read Ruth the Sleuth.
I'm going to read Ruth
Oh, I'm
the
so
Sleuth.
excited.
And
And
should
then-
I say this about the end? At
Oh
the
yeah,
end?
yeah. So yeah, and show us like.
Okay, this is
read that.
Ruth the Sleuth in the Messy Room, and I just want to say that the coolest thing about being a picture book author is sometimes you have no idea. I did not picture the book this way, and I never mention, you can listen, the word cat. And the illustrator has the cat as like a main character. The cat appears with funny expressions, and at the end, the cat appears, and you could see the difference.
Do you like cats?
I don't like cats.
I know
but
that.
I love the cat
In this
drawn
one.
here. I never liked cats, which
No,
is funny.
actually, I
but-
know that.
Yeah. Okay, so you're just pulling my leg. Okay. Whatever.
But I wasn't
Yes.
pulling your tail.
Okay, that's good. Ruth the Sleuth in the Messy Room by me, Carol Gordon Exter, and illustrated by Kimberly Soderberg. Ruth, you've got 10 minutes, Ruth's mom said as she slid the tray of chocolate chip cookies into the oven. I set the timer, and when that buzzer goes off, I want the pot holder you borrowed for your toy oven. Can you find it in that room of yours? No problem, Mom. I'm Ruth the Sleuth, and I can find anything I put my mind to. And see, in a critique group, this was one suggestion, put the timer in. And I love that idea, so children can count. It's another level of learning. First, Ruth opened her toy oven. No pot holder, but a shoelace from her old sneaker slipped out. She tied it around her head. Next, Ruth slid under her bed, parting the sea of clothes and toys. She scanned the mess but did not spot the pot holder. She slithered out like a salamander, sliding out from under a rock. Ruth flipped over and stretched out her leg to reach the wastebasket. She tapped it with her toe, uncovering the blue crayon that had rolled away last week. No potholder there, but the crayon begged to be used. After a few scribbles, she dropped her picture on the floor. She hopped over to the chair. It wouldn't rock. An eraser she had misplaced last week sat wedged under the rocker rails. She scooped it up, shot it across the room, and made a basket. And do you see, like, look how afraid the cat is. Like,
That cat is very cute.
It is cute. At her desk, Ruth nudged a pile of papers. Her favorite book peeked out from under the heap. She flipped through a few pages, then tossed it over her shoulder. That's when she noticed a yellow envelope at the edge of her desk with an old birthday card inside. When she opened the card, a neatly folded $10 bill parachuted to the floor. Money, 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 Ruth sang as she danced around the piles. When her celebration was finished, Ruth tunneled through the hill of shoes at the bottom of her closet. The potholder wasn't there, but she spied her very favorite sneakers from last year in the corner. She squinched her eyes shut and made a wish. Then she blew off the thick layer of dust. Little dust fairies scattered around her head. She shoved her toes into the too tight sneakers and shuffled off to track down the potholder. Where could it be, she wondered? I'm Ruth the Sleuth, and I can find anything I put my mind to. Wasn't I the one who always found Mr. Zucker's reading glasses? Didn't I find Madison's lunch card when no one else could? Who needs organized drawers and closets? Not me. Ruth, Mom called. You have a visitor. It was Ruth's new neighbor. Hey, Zach. Hey, Ruth, want to come out and play? Okay, Ruth answered. Mom shook her head. Sorry, Zach. Ruth is working on something for me. Ruth asked, Mom, can Zach come in and help me? Sure, but it's such a nice day. Maybe Zach would rather be outside. I'll help, Zach offered. He stepped into a bedroom and giggled. Wow, it looks like a giant vacuum threw up in here. I love my room, Ruth frowned. Zach jumped into one of the piles, dove into another, and then rolled around the stuff covering the floor. He brushed himself off and announced, Gotta go. Ruth's shoulders slumped. Maybe I'll see you in a few minutes. Ruth heard the door close. Suddenly, she wanted fresh air more than a hungry dog wanted treats. She decided to write a note on her reminder board to make better piles, to find things more easily. But the marker for her dry erase board wasn't hanging on its hook. Ruth, 2 minutes left, Mom warned. I'm on the case, Ruth shouted. Ruth crouched down under the desk and felt around the mounds of toys to see if it had dropped there. Ow! No marker, but she felt something sharp poke her tummy. A little scrape wouldn't stop Ruth. She pulled at the top desk drawer, but it was too stuffed with papers to open. She grabbed it with both hands and yanked as hard as she could. Ouch! Her finger throbbed with a splinter. She stretched over the desk to look behind it. There, sticking out from under her bicycle helmet, was Mom's potholder. Woohoo! Ruth cheered. I got it. The buzzer blasted. Beep, beep, beep. Ruth zoomed into the kitchen, curtsied, and handed over the potholder, just as heat shot out of the opened oven door. I'm Ruth the Sleuth, and I can find anything I put my mind to. And now I'm off to find my friend. And the last page just shows the picture of that cat, very happy, curled up on the clean bed, and they're sharing cookies in her room.
And you have the recipe.
And there's a chocolate chip cookie recipe and a guide to growing organized kids and a tidiness questionnaire that they could play a game.
Wow. So do you try to do that in your books?
I do, but that was the publisher's idea to include those back pages. I suggested the recipe, and she included that because of the company that she wanted to deal with specific character traits. So she offered that, and I thought that was great.
That was great. What a
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Very.
Thank you
I
for
love
letting
that.
me read
An
it.
age group for that one, would you say?
I would say 5 to 9. Pretty
5
much
to 9.
5 to 9, even 4-year-olds.
Okay.
I had an 80-year-old buy it for her sister.
Oh,
she
that's
said
great.
she still keeps a messy room and they live together.
Oh, it's that funny. That's too funny. And before we have Jeremy read his, tell us how people can learn about Before I Sleep.
Yes,
I
'cause-
say thank you.
Thank you, because thank you. I say thank you because Before I Sleep comes out this January 1st, and the company called me today and said it's Pauline Books and Media, that they would offer a promotion. If you go to their website, they're going to have a special web page pauline.org/beforeisleep. You can go and put your email address in, and then I will send you an email, a letter, when the book comes out, and there will be a special promotional code for you, for those of you here tonight listening
great.
to us.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's
Also share your website so that our viewers can learn more about your books and find out where they
Thank
can
you.
find
Thank
them.
you so much.
Thank you. That's great. Jeremy, we're ready.
All right. So this is All Paws In, co-written by Karen Jacobs and myself, Jeremy Meltzer, and beautifully illustrated by our friend Nicole Ketchery. And so I guess before I start, I should say that all the dogs in this story are actually dogs in or formerly in my life. So it's I don't have any dogs myself, but all my family members have. I'm very jealous. They have different dogs. So Justin is actually my oldest brother's dog, and he's the star of the book. All right. So Justin is on his way to Dog Doc Obie's office for his yearly pawpox vaccine. The vaccine, which will make sure Justin doesn't get the itchy, scratchy, prickly, and tickly, toe-tingling pawpox illness. Cousin Butters didn't get a vaccine, and now he stays up all night howling from the pawpox pain. Justin knows he won't be able to run, play, or chew if he catches the pawpox too. And so Butters is my other brother's little papillon, and it was only fitting that he was the one who was howling. And then, so Justin asked, "Doc, it only costs a few pennies to keep my pawpox free. I think you'll agree, so can you please give a vaccine to me?" Doc Obie gives him the vaccine as Justin barks with glee, "Yippee!" And this is my sister's St. Bernard, Obie, who is about 140 pounds. So a little ironic that she's the cute little bow tie doctor. Feet or paws or hooves or claws, the oldest cat, the youngest pony, your limbs will feel less like steel, more like steel, and less like cooked macaroni. Feeling healthy and strong, Justin thinks to himself, "I'm going to help vaccinate all my friends so they can be strong and join in the vaccine song. The more paws, the better. I'll be a dog health trendsetter." First, I'm off by airplane to the island of sugarcane to ease the pain of Sparky. Justin, of course, flies his favorite airline, JetShoe. "What should I do?" Sparky asked Justin. "I yelp with every small step, and I think my neighbors might catch the pawpox too." Justin has an idea. He gives Sparky some ice for his paws and leaves as quick as he came. "I'll be back." Hidden in the tall, snowy mountains, there is a place where the health of the world is the focus. Justin's old friend, Dr. Daisy, works here at the WHO, the Wolf Health Organization. Dr. Daisy makes all types of vaccines for doggy diseases that are similar to human diseases. One for measles, another one for rub belly, rubella, and of course a vaccine for hepatitis A and B. Hepatitis, of course. Dr. Daisy goes to work while Justin searches for the pawpox paper in the vaccine skyscraper. Dr. Daisy shows Justin the room of vaccine recipes, hundreds of papers with the ingredients for each one. The pawpox vaccine is in with the rest. Find it and it's yours. I wish you the best. After hours of searching piles as tall as the mountains outside, Justin finally finds the pawpox paper. "Success!" Justin exclaims. He then hurries off to his destination, the land of the rolling hills. Above the houses and stores, the hospital with orange roofs and white doors. They were so successful here with their pawpox programs that some vaccines were not used. Justin knew this was the right place to choose. Jazzy and Copper, the community health workers, have been vaccinating dogs for years. "Hop in here and we'll show you how it's done," they exclaimed. "It's really quite fun." Copper explains that the dogs need to know more about pawpox before they are given the vaccine. Step 1, educate. Step 2, vaccinate. Jazz explains how vaccines work. A tiny and harmless amount of pawpox is released into your body and quickly eliminated. Your body then remembers it and is ready to defend itself if ever attacked by more. Finally, you need to come back in a few days and make changes if everything isn't okay. Step 3, evaluate. Copper and Jazzy always write down plenty of notes and data and quotes. Step 1, educate. Step 2, vaccinate. Step 3, evaluate. That same day, without delay, Justin and friends each go their separate ways. They bring the pawpox vaccine to the ends of the world and everywhere in between. Feet or paws or hooves or claws. Bailey heads home to the cold, vast land of the north, where dogs dress in layers to keep their warmth. The oldest cat, the youngest pony, Mallow heads to the mystical mountains far east, known for the silks and the spices of their dog feasts. Your limbs will feel more like steel. Justin kept his promise to return to Sparky. He brings vaccines to prevent the pawpox from spreading more, and less like cooked macaroni. And what have we learned from Justin and friends? To extend a paw out to those in need, and don't be surprised if they return the deed. All paws in is what the dogs say, so put yours in too. Let's start right away. And then at the end,
Great job.
thank you, we have,
Oh, real pictures.
so these are 5 of our current family dogs who are the main characters of the story. And then a short dedication dedicated to pets and people working to improve health all over the world.
Wonderful.
And then a quick, it says to ask your adults for help with these words. And so it's just vaccines, smallpox, measles, so
Really.
if they're not easily understood.
Thank
So-
you. Great job.
Thank you.
That was really fun. This was so much fun. We want to thank you for being on the show. This was
Yeah.
really a dream for both of us. We love children's books, and it was really great to actually see the spectrum of a career. So we'll look forward to your new book and many
Thank
others.
you.
And Jeremy, this is just the start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So thank you both for being on.
Thank you for having
you.
us.
Oh, it's our
Thank you
pleasure.
for joining us. You can find more episodes online at brooklineinteractive.org, at Karen's blog, and on Channel 3, Brookline Interactive Group TV. See you next time.
Bye.